Hey boo, have you been scrolling through Instagram and now you're asking yourself, do you need a signature look in order to stand out and book more brides? Join me as I connect with bridal beauty specialist and educator, Anna Karapetian. Hi there, you're listening to the Bridal Beauty Business Podcast. This is a show all about the bridal hair and makeup business. Forget competing on price, it's time to niche down and know your worth. This podcast was created for you to help you grow your bridal business so you can get the clients you want, do the work you love, and charge the rates that you deserve. You probably know her as AK Makeup. Anna picked up a job at a spa to fund her BA education, but quickly learned that working with people and helping them look and feel beautiful was more in line with her passion. Sound familiar? After graduating, she taught herself hair and makeup, launched AK Makeup and Hair, and never looked back. During our chat, Anna and I talk about how you can gain experience if you're a total newbie in the industry. If you need to do both hair and makeup in order to be a successful bridal makeup artist, things to consider when you're looking for your very first studio space, and if you really need a bridal team or if you can be profitable without one. We also talk about the difference an admin assistant can make to your business and things that you can do to show up better on Instagram. Ideas for creating reels, lots of simple content ideas that you can use, even if you're not comfortable showing yourself in videos.
It's so cool watching you grow because I feel like you're just kind of on this hockey stick journey going up. Everyone's going to see you kind of an overnight success, but looking in, there's probably a whole lot that went into building the AK brand that it is today. So I'm really excited to have you on and kind of get into that. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your journey as a makeup artist. Is this always what you wanted to do?
You know, I'm the child of immigrants. I mean, I don't think any parents immigrate to a new country. Mind you, 3 times. We immigrated 3 times, okay? I don't think my parents envisioned me doing makeup for a living. My father's dream for me was for me to work for the UN because I'm multilingual and, you know, international relations, it made sense. And I kind of wanted to follow those steps, you know, what my parents envisioned for me. I've always had an interest in beauty. I've always been the person among friends and family to make them pretty for events. I've always loved a good transformation, if you will. It could be something as simple as, you know, my mom's friend would come over with frizzy hair and I'd want to test out my new hair straightener on her. So I'd be like, do you mind if I do a little before and after? That's before I ever considered doing this professionally. I went to university. I spent years studying things that ultimately didn't really serve me. I was just very confused in my university career. I've been very academically driven all my life, but I got to university so lost because I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a goal. I was just there, obviously following somebody else's dream. So
what did you go to university for? What were you taking?
I applied for international relations and then I realized that, I need to do economics, and I hated economics. I'm not a math person. I'm more linguistically inclined. So long story short, I changed my major 3 times and I ended up settling on studying Spanish and French, languages. I figured, okay, you know, French will feed me in Canada, you know, bilingualism is highly valued. So ultimately, I graduated from university and I started working for a non-for-profit that paid well. It was a very nice cause. I was comfortable. But then eventually I felt super miserable because I'm not meant for a desk job. Yeah. And I felt like I was working for a great cause, but it wasn't my cause, you know? So I was so bored. But around that same time, one of my friends was getting married and I was trying to help her find an artist for her bridal hair and makeup. And I mean, this was a time where social media was a different place, you know, it wasn't what it is today. So the artist you'd find would be whoever would pop up first in a Google search. And, you know, they'd be more old fashioned artists. They were expensive. She wasn't drawn to anybody. So I was like, why don't I do your hair and makeup? You know, I don't know, just throw it out there. And she was like, okay. We did a little trial and she liked it. And I ended up doing her hair and makeup. She was very happy. I was like, this was fun. I could see myself doing this. I got such energy from it. And I loved being such a crucial part of somebody's special day, you know?
Yes.
And it literally just kind of went from there. I started doing this part-time on the side. So I was working full time, and on the side, I started with just doing makeup, to be honest. My hair game was weak. I had a lot of learning to do, and I've been self-taught in my craft.
Self-taught how? So like YouTube, workbooks, just playing with it?
Before I got my full-time job post-university, I was working at a spa to pay the bills, to pay for my education, to, sustain myself, basically. And at that spa, I was doing reception as well as makeup. When clients would come out from their facials, they needed to look presentable to get back to work or go on with their day. So we carried a few makeup lines, and I had to train and familiarize with the product. So it was my job to kind of make people look presentable before they left the spa. So that's where I kind of got like training to work with different skin types, skin tones, textures. That's where I built my confidence working with different faces. Obviously, ultimately, it led to much more practice to delve into doing bridal makeup, but that's where I got my start, if you will. So when I started doing makeup part-time, I also felt like I'm a control freak.
I feel that.
I'm a control freak, and I have control of whatever I do. So whenever I'd get hired for a single service and somebody else would be doing the hair, I would also always be like displeased with the other person's job. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do hair too, so I can do everything. And that's what I started to do. And then I was building my clientele. It was slow and steady, but I was building it. But I felt like with a full-time job, I was limited in how many opportunities I could say yes to, especially like during the week. I wanted to build my portfolio. There was a lot that I wanted to do, but obviously I was physically tied to a full-time job. So I remember telling my husband, you know what, I wish they would like lay me off so I could focus on makeup full-time. And this was me manifesting this, because a week later I was literally called in and I was laid off.
Yes. It's like, you ever cheer for someone getting laid off? Like, that is like the best case scenario, right?
Anytime any of my friends or family get laid off, I'm like, congratulations.
Yes.
It's the time,
Apply for EI, and like, what are you doing next, right? You have permission to do whatever you want to do next.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. So I applied for EI, and I was like, at least I can have stable income while I focus on building my business. And that's exactly what happened. And I haven't looked back since. Like, that's when I just like started doing hair and makeup full time, and slowly but surely built my business to where it became a financially sound source of income.
So originally you started off doing makeup only, and then you transferred into hair. Did you find it was difficult to take on both of them? And how long did it take you to get comfortable doing hair?
Okay, I consider myself a very resourceful person. And I'm the kind of person who just values self-education. And I will exploit everything possible to learn what's available, because I feel like there are so many resources out there, and it's up to you to go and find them and just like make it work for you. That's how I learn. I learn by doing, and I learn by just, putting the time and effort to teach myself. Other people, they need more guidance, they need more instruction, and they need a little more hand-holding, if you will. Everybody learns differently. But I would just be on YouTube watching hair tutorials in Turkish, Turkish, Arabic. Like, I explored hairstyling from artists from all over the world. Even if I don't understand what they're saying, I can visually see what they're doing. I followed hair educators on Facebook who would do boot camps, and I would like zoom into pictures to see what they're doing, and then just like practice. I use my family members, my mom, my sister-in-law, as guinea pigs. They would sit down for me to practice on them. And mind you, honestly, a lot of my practices happen on clients. Not to say that every single style I've ever created on a person was first practiced elsewhere. As Dale Carnegie said, if somebody asks you if you can do something, say yes, and then go learn how to do it and do it.
Absolutely.
So it's taken some confidence as well to just like dive into it.
Did you learn makeup the same way? Pretty much just getting scrappy, using the resources that are out there to you?
Yes, absolutely. But really, it all comes down to practice. I mean, you can just like watch all the tutorials you want. You can watch and read as much as you want. It won't be until you start doing something repeatedly that you can become good at it, and just fully comfortable. the goal was to reach a point where you don't necessarily need to know how to do something, but you have the building blocks to know what it takes, how to deconstruct something mentally. For example, hair stuff, right? You see it, I can deconstruct it mentally and know what it takes, what steps to take in my own way to recreate that look.
Yeah, there's always that saying where it says you can read about getting abs all you want, but until you do the work, you're not going to be able to get the abs, right?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Do you think that your business would be the same if you had chosen to do makeup only?
I think it might be easier. It might have been easier. Sometimes I'm jealous of people who do just makeup because I honestly, like, you spend less time on a client, and I could potentially take more clients. But I've come to understand that, again, because of my control freak issues, I like to be in control of everything. I mean, not even just the hair, the dressing as well, right? So I like to be responsible for somebody head to toe. It has given me the special, different aspect, to build a better relationship with each client and just become more involved with a client. So as a result, I take one client per day, but I don't know, I just enjoy the process, especially with brides. With a bride, their day starts with me and many times ends with me,
Yeah.
And I think from a client's perspective, many times it's more feasible when you have access to an artist who can do both hair and makeup at the same level, mind you. It's not always you can find somebody who is confident and skilled in both equally, right? So I think if I were a client, I would definitely want to just hire one artist and not think about the logistics of hiring multiple people for every aspect of your
contracts
life.
And timing and phone calls and scheduling.
Everything, of course. Yeah, it's so much more convenient.
But I think there's a key thing that you said there is like at the same level. Cause like some people do both just because they feel they need to, but one is so much weaker than the other, right? So it's really working on that skill set to bring it up to the same level. So what you're offering is really ideal for that client is at the level that you want to present, or finding somebody to work with that is at that level.
Exactly. I also equally love both hair and makeup. Like sometimes people ask me like, which do you prefer doing more? It's like asking me to choose between two children. I honestly love them both equally. And I wouldn't choose one over the other because I feel like one without the other isn't complete. They're just equally important.
100%. I love makeup, but I'm pretty sure if I was just as amazing at hair as I was at makeup, that I would love both equally. I think because I have done makeup for so long, I'm so comfortable with it that when I start branching into hair, I can knock out a hairstyle, and in the end, eventually I like the end result, but it just takes so much time, so much anxiety that I'll give it to somebody else. But then again, I go into the whole nitpicking thing, right? When you're used to working with somebody like, I probably won't even put this in here. We'll see when I'm editing. But when I was used to working with somebody in Toronto, that person I was working with was amazing at hair, like every detail. And they were just as picky as I was. And it's really hard to find somebody at the same caliber and mindset as you, right? And like now that I moved, it's hard to build a team the same way. So I found that was really tricky.
I absolutely agree.
How old were you when you got laid off? And then like, did you tell your parents? Like, what are your parents like? Hey, I'm throwing up my university degree and I'm going to do hair and makeup.
My parents understood throughout my university career that I'm not passionate about what I'm studying or doing. Thankfully, that was the case with my parents. They didn't see the light in my eyes. And mind you, my parents have always been supportive with whatever we do. Like they just obviously, they gave us some guidance. But at the end of the day, they were supportive of me choosing to do this. And in fact, when I told them that, listen, this is what I'm going to do. Like I'm laid off. I want to invest some money. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Before I even got laid off, when I started doing it even like part-time, while I had a full-time job, I told them, I wanted to invest some money in building a makeup kit. And my parents gifted me money so I could make that investment because it was a substantial investment to make to get started. So they kind of like gave me a little push, to start pursuing this. So when I came to them and told them that I want to focus on it full time, they were not surprised and they were very supportive. And they have been, they've seen that it's obviously like paid off for time. So they're more than supportive now for sure.
I remember when I first told my dad that I wanted to go to beauty school, and he was dead set on me taking business marketing, business admin, anything in business. He's like, I'm not sending you to school to learn how to scrub somebody's feet. That was the one line he kept repeating to me over and over and over. And I went to school, went to business school, played poker downstairs all the time, dropped out. And finally, my mom's like, okay, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you get some sort of diploma. So I found a program that had a makeup artistry and TV film diploma. And I'm like, here, mom, what about this? And she funded me to go back to school. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I'm so lucky to have that extra support. But had it been there just like a little bit earlier, I probably wouldn't have wasted so much money in school either.
That's what it is, right? I mean, ultimately, yes, I finished my university degree, but it cost me thousands upon thousands of dollars and years because I was also working full time to pay for my education. I started with taking OSAP, and then my brother opened my eyes and he said, listen, you're going to graduate with this huge debt on your shoulders, and you're just going to be working with your starter salaries just to pay off that loan. So he said it's better for you to take longer with your studies, but pay off for your education as you go. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped taking OSAP. I graduated 2 years later, but at least like with substantially less debt that I would have had I taken it for my entire university career. Yeah.
And then when did you open your studio and why did you decide to make that move?
So for 5 years, we lived in a townhouse in Markham. You said you originally lived in Toronto, right?
I'm a Brampton girl.
You're a Brampton girl. There you go. We lived in a townhouse where there was this like space on the first floor, and it basically made our living space on the second and third floor.
Yeah.
So this first floor served as a studio space for me for 5 years that we lived there, which was perfect because I still travel to my brides because I'm doing a lot of early morning weddings and nobody's going to come to me in the middle of the night, right? So I do a lot of traveling, but for those times, like for special events when I take clients, I use that space as my studio space, and it worked for me quite well. And then we had to move out of that house. We moved into the house where we currently live, where I didn't have a designated space where I could work from. That would also be separate from residential space, right? But that was also the time where I was pregnant and I went on mat leave. So I took a good year for mat leave, and I realized that I needed a space. I needed a designated space to work from. And it was time. I felt like it was the right time for my business and my brand just to have a separate professional space to work from, where I could meet clients, where I could like do projects, where I could literally move my entire work there, because my husband doesn't like hairspray, anywhere. He just likes all of my things to be separate, from our home life. And I completely agree. So that's why I felt like it was time already. I was comfortable in our townhouse in-home studio space that I had, but once that was taken out of the equation, I felt like it was the perfect time to open a designated studio space that has nothing to do with my living space. I got my space right before we went into lockdown.
Okay, so like 2019?
No, like literally, I acquired the space and we went into lockdown.
Oh my gosh. Oh, we're totally going to circle back to that because that must have been crazy hectic. When you went out looking for your space, did you have a plan in mind? Did you have everything drawn out? Like you're going to have a plan B, how you're going to pay for everything? Or did you just decide, I need space, let's go see what's available and just book something?
To be honest, my studio is located very near where I lived before. And in this area, there's a strip of like businesses. Basically, these are townhomes that have commercial spaces on the first floor that's separate from that residential space. And it's this beautiful strip with this beautiful cathedral. My brother and my sister-in-law purchased a townhouse there. And my sister-in-law, who's a renowned cake artist in the city in Toronto, she opened her studio there. She made their commercial space into her own cake studio. So I was like, oh my God, it would be amazing for me to have a studio space here as well. So I was actively looking there. I wasn't really looking anywhere else because location-wise, that was perfect. It was right off the highway. It was close to where I live. It was very important that it's accessible to me if I need to travel to it often, right? So I just needed a space that wasn't too large. It had literally the square footage that I needed and all the amenities that I needed. It had free parking in front and it had fantastic natural light. Like that was obviously like major for me. So I was very adamant in finding a unit on that strip. And with just enough patience, there was a spot that became available. And I got a very good deal on it. So I jumped on it. So we acquired that space. I leased it, and then we embarked on renovations. It had to like be completely transformed, the space.
What is, if you don't want to share it, it's totally okay. But what is a renovation budget? Like, what does that even look like? What did you take into account? What did you think it was going to be? What did it end up being? I feel like this is a journey all on its own.
I will be honest. I didn't necessarily have a budget in mind. My husband is in construction, so I knew that I would save on labor a lot, right?
Yes.
Like some things that we manually did ourselves. Other things obviously like had to be paid for, but I just knew that I wanted to create a certain look, and it was like nothing crazy. I wanted like a very clean, a very timeless look. And I decided that I will make the investment that I need to create the space that I want. Because as the saying goes, save now, pay later. You know, what's the point in saving a few $1,000s now if you're going to regret it and then want to change it down the road? So I was just ready to make whatever investment it took. And I'm very happy with my space. And there's nothing that I would change about it.
That's so good. And it's a beautiful space. It looks great in videos. It looks great when you put up all your stories. I love seeing the stories of you and your sister or your mom hanging out for tea or coffee or going to the bakery or the cake shop. It's really cute. So like, I'm so happy you found something in that area because the dynamic that's there, it's really cute.
Thank you.
So you got your space in 2020 of March, and then we went into lockdown. 2020.
That gave me the chance to work on renovations, but ultimately when my studio was ready, I wasn't legally allowed to work because of restrictions. So there was this like lull moment where we just had to wait until we could resume working again and then do it. But I mean, like that, there are so many other artists who had like bigger salons, like leases and team members to lay off. Like ultimately, I'm the only person in my business that I had to think about, you know? So in that sense, it was manageable and it was easier. I have colleagues and friends who had to deal with a lot more logistic because of all the closures. So it could have been a lot worse if I had a team, for example, that would have to be laid off and then like rehired and then laid off again, as it's happened with so many other people, you know? So no, definitely it's not nice when you're like paying a lease for months and months and you can't. And not only do you not have income, but you're losing income because of all the weddings that had to be rescheduled. And obviously you wanted to work with clients and then be lenient and flexible and help transfer. But then obviously so many people can't like reschedule 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. It got into a really tricky situation.
It's crazy. It was crazy. I mean, and it still is. It's still ongoing until we're like, I feel like a deja vu.
In the first year, everything was so case by case. The admin hours went up. It was insane because like no one expected what we were going into. And some people were still getting married. They just weren't doing a ceremony. Some people were going to court. Some people were rescheduling, and you literally had to deal with things case by case. And then now I've had the opportunity to revamp all of my contracts to go through all of the cases, and still new cases come up.
Exactly. Like, it's ridiculous. I swear, when I was working on my contract, the COVID clause for this year, I literally thought it was just like symbolic. I'm like, there's no way I'll need to enforce this clause again.
I thought it was done.
Come on.
I thought we were done. I did not think so.
This is for symbolic purposes.
Yes. That's literally what I was telling my clients when I was meeting with them in November. Like in November and October, I'm like, okay, well, we probably won't need to deal with this because your wedding is next year, but it's in here just in case. Every possible scenario, if you have to reschedule, why you're rescheduling, everything is in here. Just look it over, but don't really worry about it because this should be done next year. And yet here we are, January 2022. Worry about it. Frig.
I want you to level with me for a minute. Have you even considered using an app for your trial notes, consultations, photos, and face charts? I get it. It's easily something that may have never crossed your mind. Maybe you like taking notes the good old-fashioned way, with a pen and paper. Maybe you've had the same phone for years and all your digital notes and photos are hella organized into pretty little folders. But for those of you that are like me, not living the clutter-free Pinterest life as much as you would like to be, the Total Beauty Planner can take the stress out of keeping your bridal notes and bookings beautifully organized all in one space. You deserve the best sleep of your life, not stressing last minute digging through files trying to find your bridal notes and photos from last year's trials. You should be enjoying the morning, showing up calm and confident before tapping into your artistic side. So be honest, are you ready to try something new? For a free 14-day trial, head to your app store and download the Total Beauty Planner.
Okay, other than COVID then, is there anything else when you went into opening your own space that you didn't take into consideration that kind of kicked your butt later? Or did you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed kind of thing?
Honestly, not really. Obviously, I made calculations like, does acquiring this space make sense for me financially? And yes, it does. It does. Even through restrictions and closures and everything, I just felt it was the right move for me to make, given where I am in my business, in my brand, because I had a vision also to actually just offer education in that studio space. I used to have an educational partner, and anytime we held master classes or courses, we would have to rent out a space specifically. So we were no longer partners. So we were just each doing our own thing. But my goal was that along with working and meeting with clients from my studio space, I would also be teaching from there. But of course, yes, the pandemic happened and there hasn't really made a chance to hold any classes there, but that is still in the books for me. And the way I've even designed my wall units with pull-out tables and stuff, like I had a whole vision using those pull-out tables for students and stuff. That's still going to happen. So I just felt like ultimately, yes, it will make financial sense. But no, I don't regret any of it. And I think I foresaw different scenarios, when I got the space. So I don't know what I'll do without it.
Aww, that's your baby.
Imagine. It is my baby. It's my home away from home.
If there's somebody out there that's thinking about getting their own space, is there a couple of steps that you think that they should take, or a few things that they should take into consideration before making that leap? Finances, you said, was a really big one. There's knowing that you can.
Finances, it is definitely a big one. It is a financial commitment, and you need to just weigh the pros and cons of having the space versus not having the space. Like I said, for me, it was important from just a professional perspective that when I meet clients, I don't necessarily want somebody to walk through my kitchen to get to my studio space. That is important to me. And I was willing to make that financial investment to eliminate that aspect of it. Yeah. Like I said, you need to see how much you would be using that space physically. If you're paying thousands of dollars, you only need to use it twice a month. Is it really worth it? Mm-hmm. If you can afford it, then go for it, right? But I think it is difficult to find a space, though. It's difficult to find a space.
It is really hard.
all the criteria, right? Like I said, I wanted something that is ground level, that has free parking, that has natural light, and just the right square footage. And I was very lucky to find it at a very good price. But not everybody is as fortunate. And also something that is closer to where I live.
Yeah. I think Ottawa is a very different market when it comes to the bridal season. I feel like Toronto, everyone's getting ready for events for the wedding. Even if your cousin is getting married, you're getting ready for all of those events. Ottawa, mainly, it's been the bride for one or two events. And then we haven't had as many winter weddings either. And I feel like in Toronto, it doesn't slow down. There's maybe 2 months where there really isn't a bridal season. So I needed something that was super, super cost effective here. And I found a couple of office spaces, but everything super small, 150 square feet, 120 square feet. It was just enough space. And as soon as you try to find something that's a little bit bigger, that's temporary, you're instantly getting into $2,000, $3,000 a month plus utilities. And for me personally, it didn't make sense. But exactly. Office spaces, because I wasn't utilizing that space as much as I wanted to year round, but I wanted a place where I can leave and do podcast recording and do lash extensions from. I was able to find something, but I was looking more into office spaces. So it wasn't really a commercial storefront or anything. So if anyone's looking for a way to kind of dip their feet in the water, and see if it's going to work out for them, see if it makes sense or not as busy, then office spaces are a great little way to start out as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about the 8K special. Like, how was the 8K special board?
To be honest, it's just something that I get requested quite often, you know? People love that big hair, the big bouncy hair and like sultry makeup. And I just decided to call it something.
Yeah.
And it was like, I just started my services, or at least like the looks that I create, as like a menu. And I gave that a menu name, if you will. So now when clients want that look, they're like, I just want the AK special. So it was facilitating the whole process, you know? I feel like I don't want to call it my signature look. It's just something that is often requested of me. A lot of people create that look, you know? So it was just like a matter of labeling it to make it easier for people to just be like, that's what I want.
Do you think that artists need to find their signature look, or like the one, how do I put that into words?
Do you need something that you're known for?
Yeah, like a look that you're known for that calls out to people. They're like, okay, like that's what I want. This is what I want. Do you think it's better to have something like that rather than doing multiple different types of looks all over your profile when you're in the wedding industry?
I think as an artist, you need to be versatile and you need to be multifaceted and you need to just be able to create different kinds of looks. Yes, I do follow artists who have that specialty and like that one thing that they do really well, but I like to do everything well personally, you know, and I want to give people the chance to choose from multiple things because everybody's different. But oftentimes when I work with clients, I work with them more than once. So they get a chance to experience different looks that I can create. But I think for an artist, more than signature, I think every artist has their own handwriting, you know? And I think that's what sets you apart from other artists. I love it when people tell me that when they see an image, they know it's my work because they can tell my handwriting and my style. So it's not a specific look that I create, but just how that look has come together overall. So that can just mean like doing beautiful, clean work, timeless, like the blending, the way the hair is finished, all of those things. I think that's what somebody needs to focus on, to create a clean, crisp, polished finish more than creating a specific look, you know?
I love how you explained that with the handwriting. Like that is the perfect way to define and explain it.
Yeah. Everybody has their own handwriting. There are so many artists that I follow and I can see a picture and know that this is that person's work. Everybody has their little something, you know?
Totally. I was just actually talking to a client about this the other day and they're from Toronto as well. It was Rachel Renna. She does her eyeliner and her smoky eyeliner a very certain way. If you're looking at a photo, you instantly know like this is probably her work. Like it is beautiful and it stands out. Like that's definitely her handwriting.
Exactly it. I know Rachel's work from the way she does the highlights under the eyes, the way she does lips and skin, like particularly the skin, I can tell. And also there's also how they capture their work as well, right?
Yes.
Like the camera quality, all of those things, I think it all adds to your handwriting, your style, your overall finish and brand. So
exactly. It all comes back to your branding, right? Everything that we described when people talk about your brand, like this is exactly it. It's the way that somebody notices your work. It's the way that somebody feels when they look at your work. They feel when they're speaking to you and talking to you, and having a brand is really important, whether it's all one type of look or like a multitude of looks. Your handwriting, the way that you explain it, is going to come through from all of that. And that's going to kind of create your signature look and your signature ambiance. Exactly. So do you have a team? Do you work with a team? Is it just you?
No, I don't. As I said, I'm a control freak. and to be honest, like throughout different points in my career, I have considered starting a team, but I've just never felt the need for it. I know it's a lot of work and effort to manage a team to begin with. And it also comes down to like trust issues that I have.
Yeah,
like you said, you mentioned earlier that it's so hard to find somebody who is on the same wavelength as you, has the same standards, and will basically dedicate themselves to your brand the way, you know, you would dedicate yourself to your brand. It's very difficult to find people like that.
Don't get me wrong. I love the girls that I work with. I love my team. They've never, knock on wood, they've never done anything to let me down. But every weekend I still have trust issues. Like,
yeah, you're just like,
messaging
what if?
them.
What if?
Yes, what if? Because that's your butt on the line. That is your butt on the line. And like, then what? You have to have your plan B, and you have this plan B, but it's still that what if. I like being able to offer all of this to my clients and be able to take on these big bookings, but maybe I'll just have like less anxiety if I wasn't doing the whole team thing. But I don't know. It's hard. It's
That's what it is. It's not that anxiety that I calculated. I'm like, I don't think it's worth it. When I had initially started and I would get requests for larger bookings, I would subcontract other artists and we'd go together, but it would always be in my presence. I needed to be present to make sure that quality control, right? And yes, while they always did lovely work, I just felt like they're not officially working for my brand for me to necessarily be directing them like that. But I understood ultimately that the people who I would want to work with have their own independent businesses and they wouldn't be interested to work under me. And I just don't have the time and energy to manage a whole team and bookings, all that stuff. Like it's just not for me.
I love hearing that.
I love being a one-woman show, honestly. Yeah. I'm an introvert. I love being alone. I love my alone time, my space. And more importantly, I like to make my own decisions. And I like to be in control of everything that happens. So
I think it's so important for people to hear that, because I think they automatically assume that, okay, I'm working for somebody else. I need to go work for myself. Then I need to build my own team. And that's the only way to make money as an artist, to like build, grow, send other people out and collect money from them and expand, right? And no, you don't have to do that. You just have to stay true to what you want and what you feel is comfortable. And if that's the route that you want to go, by all means, do it. But there's a whole nother level of team management and communications and admin that goes into all of that. And if that's what you want to do it. You will make a great living at it, but you can also make a great living doing it by yourself and just being a one woman or a one man show and not have trust issues.
And you know what? When you focus so much on the admin aspect of it, you start to lose zest for the art of it, you know, because I'm in this for the art. Yes. Behind a computer and manage other people to go do the work that I want to be doing, you know? So the only expansion that I did was hire an admin assistant, which changed my life. And it changed the way I handle my business and my personal life. And that was definitely like the best decision, to hire somebody else to handle my emails. But beyond that, I'm very happy with how things are running.
Was it easy for you to find a virtual assistant? Is there any trust issues handing over your passwords?
Like I said, I do have my trust issues. I got very lucky finding her. When I made the decision, I feel like, again, I just manifest things into the universe. I wanted to find a person who would be great at writing, who would have like a great professional tone. And obviously somebody who's malleable. There's always a learning curve with whoever you hire, right? I made a post on a Facebook employment group. The first person who responded is the first person that I spoke to. And that's it. She was hired. And
that is amazing. Okay. Usually it does not work out like this. Okay.
It does not work out. I know this is a fairy tale, but I left out big time. And I've been working with her for 3 years now, and I haven't looked back. We had a phone interview and I was like, okay, you're ready to do this. And I just passed everything on to her, and it's been smooth sailing since.
So what did you have to line up to pass on to her? Because it's not just like, here's my email, here's my password, answer these emails. Like, did you set up any templates, or did you kind of leave it all up to her?
Yes, I had to set up a whole bunch of templates, like a template for, sharing my availability with pricing, a template for I'm not available, here's a list of recommended artists, a template for inquiries coming for a year where my calendar isn't open, a template for inquiries about education, all those things. And it took time. It took time to find our groove. It took time for her to understand how I like to work. And now she has more foresight into my calendar than I do. She'll be like, are you sure you want to be working on this day? Like, you didn't block it off because you're working on these days and you probably want to have time off. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I need that time off, So she's to work with my professional and personal life really well to my calendar. So she's fantastic.
So good. Yeah. It usually takes time. I've heard horror stories. I've heard great stories, but the fact that you find somebody right off the bat, 3 years, you took the time to train them. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, knock on wood. I feel fortunate.
Okay. Let's get into content creation. It's so fun watching you. It's so fun watching your videos. I always put something out and I'm like, oh, this girl, like, You relate. You're so real. You're so relatable. You're so funny. How do you think of these ideas? Do you find inspiration? Are you naturally just this funny person? Can anyone do this?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, yes, I'm naturally funny, but
of course you are.
I have a sense of humor. My husband doesn't find me too funny, but I'm like, Instagram does. Okay. So like, that's what matters. Honestly, I spend time on TikTok. It just pulls you in and just doesn't let go. But I find my inspiration from just hearing a sound. I'll come across a sound and I'm like, oh my God, this would be so applicable to my niche. And sometimes it just lines up perfectly and I'll make a reel like that. I have this like dilemma with myself because I'm like, I want to put out value.
Oh, girl, you do.
Well, okay, but like, I don't feel like I do.
No, entertainment is valuable.
I agree because I think comedy, entertainment, laughter is, best medicine. There are a lot of things that I want to share. I want to like make makeup videos, hair tutorials and stuff. There's a lot on my mind, but when it comes down to it, I'm just like, no, I'm just going to make a funny, relatable reel.
You say this is what you want to do. And from the outside looking in, I feel like that is what you are doing. You're putting out tons of valuable content. You show us your kit. You share the products that you use. You show us how you do certain braids and how you do certain things when it comes to hair or makeup, what lip combos you do. And you're giving us the funny reels. Like, just keep doing what you're doing and you're going to continue to explode. I think you're literally doing exactly what you say you want to do.
I'm glad you think so. Thank you.
I feel like it always feels like we're not doing enough, or like we have to post 3 times a day, post every single day. If we're not doing it, we're failing. But I really think that other than the algorithm, maybe the people that are following you don't notice. I can literally remember some of your reels and some of your videos in my head. And I feel like you're doing a really great job of it.
Thank you.
When you find inspiration on TikTok and you hear this sound and you're like, oh, I want to make this video. Do you just bust out your camera and do it right away? Or do you write it down and schedule it later?
Sometimes I'll hear a sound. I'm like, I like the sound. I save it. And then it might take me weeks and I'll be driving and then I'll make a connection. Or I'm like, I know the sound has potential within my field, but I don't know the concept yet. It's not alive yet. And then it might come to me randomly, or it might take weeks and I might have a scenario with a client where I'm like, oh my, and that sound might like just play in the back of my mind. In that moment, I'm like, oh my God, this is what it is. That's real about, when a client falls asleep in your chair. And that sound, I've heard it in so many places. And then I was doing the client's makeup and she like fell asleep. I'm like, holy, there's like my concept, sir, are you there? It might happen like that. Other times I might hear it and it will click right away. And I'm like, okay, I need to film this and I'll film it the next day. But it's never right away I'll do it because it takes like me doing my makeup. I'm like, is my hair clean? Your hair washing needs to line up with your content.
Yes.
It's a big one. Usually I'll save sounds. I'll have a library of saved sounds, and if nothing is happening, I'll just go and like play each sound until something clicks and I'll do it. Sometimes I'll just go through a long period of time where I'm just not inspired. I don't find anything that I think is worth filming. And I just wait for the right one.
And that's okay too. Because imagine filming something and you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to film this just because I have to. And then you put it out there and it's super lame because you just didn't want to do it anyways.
Exactly.
I guess that's when you can put out something a little more valuable, right?
Exactly.
So I think for people that are trying to get into TikTok and make reels and they want to show up better, I think batch recording is such an easy day where a day that you're going to be putting on makeup, you're going to be washing your hair, and you have these 2 or 3 reels saved. Just record them all in one go. Change your shirt. You already have your setup there. It'll look like it's done the same day. Heck, if you want to wear the same shirt, who cares? We all wear black anyways. No one's going to notice. And just do it that way. And then what about for artists that are not funny or they don't feel they're funny? Me, where I'm like, I want to make reels, but I'm just not a funny person. Like, what kind of reels can I make? Or if somebody only wants to showcase their work, but they don't want to do just before, after to a 5-second clip, what are little things that they can do to elevate what they're putting out there and make it a little more interesting?
I think I'm one of the few people that I know in my field to actually make funny reels. I feel like I may have created a standard that doesn't exist. Sometimes I'm so out of ideas. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make a funny reel and call it a day. But I don't think that's what reels need to be about at all. In fact, the reels that I love watching from artists is people who do product reviews. It could be something as simple as I bought this mascara. Let's try it out together. And I love watching those videos to see a product being used live in action. I think that's so valuable. And it's something so simple, right? If you're a makeup artist, you're definitely playing with makeup. Then you can just like pull out the camera. You don't have to be funny about this. You don't have to teach something. You can just show a product being used. And I think that visual connection that your audience can make with you alone can be so valuable. There is this artist who literally blew up from just doing product comparisons or like product reviews. And she has incredible lighting, a great camera quality. And when she tests a product, you see exactly how it applies. She does like wear tests and she takes you through the whole process all within like a 20-second reel. And it is so
line down the middle.
Rose and Ben. Yeah.
She was literally just did the NARS versus the Charlotte Tilbury.
And I was like, yeah. And I watched another who didn't like Glamzilla. She tried it. She didn't like it. And then I watched Rose and Ben. But it's something as simple as I was sent this. I have a new product. I'm just going to wear it. Let's see, It could be something as simple as TikTok Reels. Everybody's posting videos on how it's like the best way to grow. But honestly, at the end of the day, I think this is not a rat race. If you don't know what to do yet, just take your time to figure out what you do want to do. But I think if you do want to move forward, you do have to take a step and you have to do something. You have to dabble in a few things to understand what it is that you enjoy doing and what it is that your audience likes, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy making a certain kind of content, you're not going to be successful at it, because if you're not passionate about it, it's very evident. And then it just feels forced, and people don't like forced things.
No, that's why I'm selling my YouTube cameras. I bought these cameras for vlogging like 8 years ago. I still use them a handful of times. They're in my closet. I finally put them up for sale. I'm like, I'm not a YouTube girl. It's not for me. It's not. I'll stick to podcasting. I know one thing we go back to a lot on this podcast is your ideal client, your niche. And I think what makeup artists need to remember when they're making content is, unless you're training other artists, your ideal client are normal people. So we watch a lot of other makeup artists doing these really cool product reviews and wear tests and showing these really big PR boxes. But our clients, they just want a basic mascara tip. Like if you do a reel where you're getting into the car safely, recording, going down the aisle, picking up a mascara, cashing out, and just like 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, opening the package, curling your lashes, putting on the mascara, and then showing how it looks. Boom. That is the easiest reel there. You don't even have to talk on it. You're literally just doing 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Put on some captions over the reel, do a voiceover if you want to, and you have a reel. You can do that with different products all the time. And like your views will definitely go up. Your engagement is going to go up and people are going to start to know you and see you because you want to get your face in there a little bit, right? Clients are booking not only your makeup, but they're booking you as a person as well. So I think it's really important to show up. And with reels being the latest, greatest thing, Instagram's really pushing it. If you're doing reels, you're going to be getting better engagement. Your account's going to go further. So you got to find ways to dabble in it.
100%. I
Okay.
couldn't agree more.
Let's do speed round. Tell me your favorite course or training that you've taken. It doesn't have to be makeup or hair related. It can be business. It can be absolutely anything. It can be makeup or hair too.
I think the best course I've taken was a course that made me understand how I don't want to teach. When I became a student in that setting, it made me understand what are some things that I don't want to do as an artist and as an educator. So I think that may have been the most valuable one. It was like a very prominent hair artist, from Russia, traveled, invested generously in this course. And frankly, I can't say that I got much value out of it. But I think the biggest value was to understand how not to deal with students and how not to teach. So I think being in that position of a student to be a better teacher, because teaching is a big part of my business and it's where I see my business going in the future.
So what are some of the things that you wouldn't do as a teacher?
I think as a student in that course, I felt very ignored. And I felt like me learning something was not necessarily the end goal for that teacher. They were just there to perform and show off their talents and skills and go home. When I teach a student, I want to ensure that when they walk out from there, they walk out with actual knowledge and useful skills that they can take with them in their artistry, and that they will just leave with a positive experience.
Yeah, I can relate to that with the lash course. Again, spent thousands of dollars. Luckily, it was locally, but we went in, learned this one thing, and then they just needed to get out and get on a flight home. And you literally just felt like you were there. You were a number. They got your money, and that's it. There was no feedback afterward. There wasn't really any open communication or anything like that. So I think you really, like, you have to, if you're going to teach, you have to really have a passion for it, right? And want to really put an investment into the growth of the person that you're teaching.
Exactly. And mentorship is also important.
Mentorship is everything. It doesn't matter how much you think you know, there's still so much to grow in every aspect of your life. So finding a good mentor will push your career tenfold.
Absolutely.
Is there a beauty product you're absolutely adore at the moment?
I have been using the L'Oreal, I think it's called the Air Push. Is it Air Push mascara?
What is it? Ooh.
Oh my goodness. I love drugstore mascara. Yeah. I literally don't see the point in investing, because no luxury mascara has worked for me the way drugstore mascara does, but specifically the L'Oreal brand. Like, I have a list of mascaras that I love from there. Lashes are a big part of my look. If I'm just getting my makeup done, if I'm doing my makeup, especially in this pandemic where this is all that matters because you're always wearing a mask, concealer and mascara is what's important to me. So a good set of lashes on you can change everything. That's why I love the Eye Envy lash conditioning serum, because
they're really discontinuing it.
No.
Yes, I just got an email notification. They're going to sell out all their stock for the rest of 2022. When it runs out, that's it. They're not creating anymore. I know. It is ridiculous because it is the best lash serum that I've ever come across.
Like, it's so effective. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Let me tell you what this mascara is exactly, because I see a lot of ads on it. I was like, you know what? Let's try it. The Lash Paradise mascara has been my go-to for a long time. Oh, it's called Air Volume. It's this one. But I use the waterproof formulation, and honestly, the waterproof formulation on it is, that's very important to me. So this is a really good mascara. It immediately thickens the lashes, lengthens them, and separates them. The brush is fantastic. But also the waterproof really stays put. Have
you thrown it into your kit, or are you it's just your personal stash?
No, honestly, when it comes to my kit, I need a good waterproof formulation, but that's about it. Because the brush doesn't matter. I just need like a good product, because we use disposables and I use falsies anyway. So I don't need something that's going to like thicken or do anything crazy. So mascara is not the biggest investment I make in my kit.
That's literally the cheapest investment I make in my kit. As long as it's not going to flake. Yeah. It's waterproof. Exactly. It's good to go.
Exactly.
What is the last book you read or are currently reading?
I have been exploring this app called Blinkist, and I shared it on my social media.
I saw you share this and I was so mad. I was like, you have to read the rest of the book.
I know. But you know what? There are some books that I listened to them. It's like a 20-minute read or listen. And I'm like, okay, these are all great points. And honestly, I don't see myself listening to any more of this, because I feel like you told me everything I need to know.
Yeah.
There are some, when it comes to some nonfiction books, you just need a summary. You know what I mean? I agree. There are some self-help books that I can't imagine it being summarized in like a few points. It's very anecdotal based, and for you to contextualize each concept that they're sharing, it's really helpful to hear stories. But one of the latest books that I listened to through Blinkist was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And it just simply talks about making small and sustainable changes in your life to lead to bigger results over a long period of time, right? But I think it applies to everything. I'll give you a simple example. Yeah. You may have a weight loss goal, for example, right? And of course, like, we live in a time where everything that's pushed down your throat is like, oh, lose weight in 2 weeks, or like lose 10 pounds in 10 days, or, you know, those quick fixes that are just unrealistic and unsustainable. To create more permanent change, it could be something as simple as just decrease your calorie intake by 120 calories per day. And that could be just literally not eating that chocolate that you eat one time. And over a year, that can amount to big changes because you consistently made the small change. So in the grand scheme of things, it's like a very small change that you would make, but it could lead to big results if done consistently.
Is there a change that you started to make after reading that?
Yes, I've been continuing my fitness journey. I took a break from working out when things got really busy, and I was just trying to watch my diet and just like, I love food. I love to eat. I don't eat to live. And it's a big part of my culture, like my family and everything. But with how much I was working, I just didn't even want to make time to work out. It was just like too much, But I was watching my diet, but I definitely wanted to get stronger again. Yeah. So it's something as simple as I want to reach the goal of doing 10 push-ups, So every time that I work out, I work on a certain movement. I work on just doing negative push-ups or just trying to strengthen my muscles to be able to reach that goal.
That's neat. And that app is called, say, Blinkist?
Blinkist. You can get a free trial for about 2 weeks, and then it's a paid subscription. And I think the fact that they have a free trial it's a great way for you to explore, to get a feel for the library they have available, the library of books, and to see if this is the right way for you to consume books. Mm-hmm. Because some people, like, it's not enough for them. Some people just need all of it. Some people need to physically hold a book to read. Honestly, ever since I had children, it's been 6 years, my focus when it comes to reading has changed completely. And the only time I really have to read is at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And by then I'm just so exhausted, so spent that I'll like read a page and I'm just ready to fall asleep. And I don't remember anything from what I read on that page. Because I can open the book the next day and read that same page. And I'm like, it'll be complete news to me.
Reading is scientifically proven, though, to put you to sleep, especially at nighttime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just saying, like, if I even read a page a day, I'm not making any progress because I don't remember anything from that page that I read, I'm a big reader. I used to be a big reader. I loved reading, but I'm telling you, like, ever since that changed, audiobooks are it for me because I like to be able to multitask. And when I'm driving, instead of listening to music, I just listen to books.
Yeah. And then some books that are so information dense, like the 5 a.m. Club, there's so much information in that book. I've read it, the physical copy of it, but that's a book I have to go back and read over and over and over again, or crushing it. Has so much good information in it. So using an app like Blinkist, just get that summary to refresh what I learned the first couple of times. I think it's a great way to make use of it as well.
For me, that book is Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Great book.
Yes, I love it. Like, I've been reading it for years.
It's a really boring read.
So boring. Right?
It is so boring.
I know. So that's when an app like Blinkist can come in handy to just like freshen things up in your mind.
I was trying to get through that book and I'm like, it's so much good information here. I hate reading this book though. Like, it was just so mundane and so boring. And that would be the perfect app for that book. What's something that you do now that's really helped you in your business that you wish you would have like started or implemented years ago?
Oh yeah. Having an admin assistant. Having an admin assistant. Like I just feel like I did it at the right time in my business though. I acquired an admin assistant as my business started growing and as the volume of inquiries that I started to get started increasing for me to not be able to handle it. You know what I mean? Where it came to a point where I felt like I was spending a lot of unnecessary time, even just responding to people saying that I'm not available, not even sending contracts back and forth, but just a volume of emails coming for inquiries that I wasn't available for. But I also wanted to respond in a timely manner. Mm-hmm. Every time I see artists with a sound business who apologize for the delay in responses, I'm like, why are you apologizing? But don't apologize. Just get an admin assistant, But I understand like the
trust issues.
Find somebody. Trust issues. But I think it's an important step to make. I
think it's the perfect baby step. Like if you have trust issues, an admin assistant is the perfect baby step.
Yes, exactly. It is something that you can more or less control. Ultimately, my admin assistant, she has a life of her own. She's a student. She's busy. And there are times where I feel like if she's, falling behind, I can pick up the pace and dedicate my own time to make sure to fill that weight gap, right? Because I don't want people waiting too long to receive a response. It is, of course, unrealistic of clients to expect a response like right away. Still, with an admin assistant, we take a certain amount of time to respond to inquiries. But like you said, yeah, it is a great baby step to make, but I think it can improve the quality of your life.
Yeah.
And if it's a big source of anxiety for you as a business owner, my sister-in-law, for example, it was like the biggest source of anxiety for her to respond to emails. She's an artist. She wants to be creating, but instead she's stuck responding to emails for hours upon hours.
Yeah.
And that's not what she wants to be doing, you know? So for a person like that, filling that gap and outsourcing this so that somebody else can handle it, it takes time to build a business, to build a system that you have going with your business assistant. It takes time, but all good things take time and effort, right? You just have to make that step.
Absolutely. And creating processes from the ground up, I think is so important for a business, because you don't want it to be working in your business constantly, right? Like you want time to work on your business. You want time to do the creative stuff. And we all got in it for the creative side of things.
Exactly.
So other than the AK special, what do you want to be remembered for in life?
Honestly, I want to be remembered for like mentorship. I love helping people. I love helping artists and just like people in general. I like to, the people that I come across, that I meet or teach or work with, whatever, I like to leave them with a good feeling and leave them with something valuable, you know, something that they can take with them. So I think ultimately what I strive for is just to be a mentor to people.
That's nice. I like that.
People. Okay, too. Not like a prophet or anything, but just like be a mentor to, you know, students.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Anna. I am going to link all the ways that you can find Anna in the show notes for today. But is there like anything that you're working on? Is there any training that you have coming up that you'd like to share?
Yes. Well, I think by the time this podcast airs, it will be completed. But I have an online workshop masterclass coming up, and I'm really looking forward to this. It's an online virtual workshop for my tussled side braid, which is also a highly requested look that I do. This will be streaming live on my website. And then after the live stream, the recording will be available for all registrants to access for a whole month after the live stream. I definitely plan to do more workshops in 2022. So this is like the first step, but I plan to also have like a course on a class, rather like a recorded class on sari draping. And then my AK special, there's a lot of requests to still do an online workshop for the AK special.
Like the big fluffy hair.
Yeah, the big bombshell curls.
I think sari draping is such a good idea, especially like sari pleating. I turn down people all the time. Raw silk saris is such an art form. It is so complicated for me. I think it'll help a lot of people out there.
It's the most requested thing that like people write to me about to learn. So it's time.
All right.
Woo, that was an hour packed with tons of information. If you're driving and you're listening to this, if you're doing something else and you didn't get the chance to take notes, visit www.neelamcore.com for all of the show notes for today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode with Anna, DM me on Instagram at The Bridal Beauty Business and let me know. If you have any follow-up questions to the show, email them to info@neelamcore.com, and I would love to do a follow-up episode to go over them all. Until next time.